Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to do a video just talking about Darrell Brooks, the Waukesha Christmas parade anti-white terrorist. And so there are many other channels covering this, live streaming the trial every day. I'm going to direct you to some sources of information that I think maybe are covering it the best. Just to give you an idea of the insane behavior of this guy, Darrell Brooks, who they are allowing to represent himself in his disrespectful, crazy behavior in the courtroom. I will play some clips. But like, he looks like he's doing autistic screeching here. I've given him the AOC crazy eyes because he absolutely deserves that. But let's play some clips just to show you some of his courtroom demeanor and behavior and how disrespectful he's being to the victims, witnesses, family members of the victims, etc.
Like this.
I am not.
I realize it may very well be related to your claim to be a sovereign citizen.
Oh yeah, he claims he's a sovereign citizen. He's one of those kinds of people.
And
Claim to be
disputing the
Claim to be sovereign. That's correct.
jurisdiction of this court, but these are not questions this court is obligated to
I would like
answer.
to correct the record and say that I am sovereign.
All right, you believe you're sovereign, the record is corrected. So, Mr. Brooks, we're getting really close for you crossing the line,
Really close to crossing the
being
red line,
removed
Your
from the
Honor.
courtroom for
I
continued
did not-
interruptions.
I did not
want you
consent to
here.
that, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, you haven't let me get in one sentence this morning.
Yeah, exactly.
The name that is on your card, since you will not answer the question.
Like, he seems to think that he can act however he wants and that that's okay. And it's so disrespectful to the court. And just think, if this were anybody else, and you know what I mean, acting this way, they'd immediately be charged with contempt and taken out of the courtroom. He's being so ridiculous.
But I've merely asked of Your Honor numerous times at this point, can that title name please direct the prosecutor to answer whether there are any more charges? Can the title name please direct the prosecutor to answer whether there are assessment for the charges
Mr. Brooks.
in her possession?
No one's going to be answering these questions, okay? I'm not requiring the state to do that. I'm advising you to stop asking those questions.
request
It will
the-
be considered he's interrupted.
I
Take him to the
request
next
the title
courtroom.
name.
I'll make more findings when he is in the courtroom next
do
door,
not agree
and
to
I
a estoppel, Your
can
Honor.
do that without.
So, okay, he gets removed, and he's been removed numerous times because of his bad behavior, and he continues to do it.
So you said the list was in your cell. I'm advising you that I'll give you the opportunity
I
to
don't want to
go.
do that.
Look at how combative he is. It's ridiculous.
Can I finish? I'm advising you that you are being given the opportunity, if you so choose, to go back to your cell to obtain the list of witnesses that you have been working on. Further advising you that if you choose not to do that, your one option would be to verbally tell the court any additional names to what you've already provided. Write those down for the court so that either.
The patience of this judge, I swear. She has more patience than me.
So how am I supposed to do that without the list in front of me?
The list that you have in your cell?
How am I supposed to do that without the
I'm
list?
telling you, I'm giving you the opportunity to
I'm
go
not-
get that.
I'm not
So,
gonna go do that.
Mr. Brooks, I'm not going to play games with you.
And
I'm
not-
giving you
I'm
an
not gonna-
opportunity.
And I told you
You
that I'm
either
not
go to
gonna
your
do that.
cell and
You
get
said
the
I have the
list or
opportunity
not.
to do that.
All
You
right.
said I have the opportunity.
I'm not going to
do
demand that you do it, but you have to understand, sir, that if you
I
choose
don't
not to
understand.
do
I
that.
don't understand. I don't understand.
All right,
I've
Mr.
made
Brooks.
that clear. I don't know how
Claim
many
to not
times for the
understand,
record.
and that's been made very
Oh,
clear
I don't
here, sir.
understand. You're not
So-
going to get me to consent to something that I don't consent to or agree to. I do
know.
not
All right.
understand. Just
Mr.
like I
Brooks,
don't
we're gonna
understand the
take a
nature and
recess
cause
so
of
that
this.
the court can get this
Exactly
information
like I've
from
been
the
telling
state.
you from the beginning.
Okay, he's Continuing with his disruptive behavior, it is
He is.
Mr. Brooks be removed from the courtroom due
Here he is without a shirt on.
to repeated interruptions
So
and
ridiculous.
disruption with the court. This, of course, comes on
So frustrating.
recent history with Mr. Brooks. On every day that we have been in court since Monday, he has shown a complete and utter disrespect for the simple rules of civility. He has been removed from the courtroom multiple times. This morning alone, he started interrupting this court within a minute of the court calling the case.
Yes, he has. And he knows exactly what he's doing. He's not somebody that is mentally disturbed or handicapped or anything like that. No, he's aware of what he's doing. He thinks it's funny.
I should also
disgusting.
make a record that at the moment he is muted because of the way that he was removed from the courtroom and his conduct since. I have been given just a bit of information about it. I will advise everyone that I have required that the Sheriff's Department file a written report with the court.
And just look at him. He's such a jerk. And here we have they're playing audio of when the FBI came to talk to him.
Darrell?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Darrell. I'm Jeremy Polachowski, the FBI.
FBI.
Yeah.
FBI?
I'm Mary. Yep.
We're just kind of helping out because we're so short-staffed tonight. So
Thank you. Yeah.
that's all it is.
How's your shoulder, right? Is that where
Yeah, well, he said in 4 to 6 weeks I might have to get it because it's still something's wrong.
Just absolutely ridiculous. Like, you can hear just he's so full of himself, and he lacks such self-awareness. You can hear it in his voice, like the sheer arrogance and confidence that he has. Like, he believes 100% he's going to get away with it.
I know.
you bang it up before or something?
So keep going.
FBI though.
We help out our local partners all the time. This is just something that we're here to help
Because
with.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, believe it or not, we work at NPD a lot. We come down here, so we're kind of all over the place. But yeah, like Detective Carpenter said, we're
y'all for real. The FBI for real.
That's what this says, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not trying to be funny, but this is the first time I've ever even seen an FBI agent in real life.
We get that reaction from most.
No, because it's like, am I in a movie right now? Y'all sure?
Am I in a movie right now?
Yeah. You don't need to let that freak you out or anything. I got
Am I in a movie right now? He asks. Just so absolutely ridiculous. Now, I have written an article in November of 2021 called Never Forget the Moment They Declared War on You. It is absolutely not appropriate for YouTube, but what I was talking about was the gloating media and how they react to this, and I encourage people to read it. It's up on my Substack. I will put the link in the video description. There's an article here from the National Justice website, published the same day as my article. This is by Eric Stryker. Waukesha alleged attacker is a convicted P. You know, PEDO, y'all know what that means. Repeat felon and self-described black T who preached V against the us W people. I hate that I have to do that for like my content here, but you all know, like, you're able to read it. I'll link it in the video description, but just so we know who we're talking about here. Moving on though, justicereport.news has been covering this. Sam Caldwell, Trey Garrison, I think they're sort of like the senior investigative reporters for Justice Report that have been covering this case, and it is really good coverage. And I mean, like, if you want good stuff, this is really good. They include his sovereign citizen rant for almost an entire hour. And this is what I mean by how disrespectful this whole thing is. Just the fact that he was allowed to do that, that they let him get up there and do that. If it were you and me or me, they would not allow us to do that. So they detail like every single day what's happening in the trial. And that's why I highly recommend it. justicereport.news. I will include all of the links here. This is their most recent one, though. This is day 11, so this is from just yesterday. Brooks offered coat, sandwich, Uber ride, and cell phone after he fled the scene of the parade attack as witnesses keep testifying. So they're talking about like how nice people in this area are. He showed up at some person's house. They didn't even know him, and they're like offering to help him. They don't know what he's just done. On the 11th day of trial, and the accused anti-W terrorist Darrell Brooks began, like most others, with Brooks arguing with the judge over the topic of the, quote, subject matter jurisdiction, unquote, before the jury was even brought in. Like, he doesn't even understand the legal process. He insisted on representing himself, and he does all this kind of he just rants about stuff that he doesn't know anything about, just so he can claim that somehow he's a victim and he's being mistreated. Let's forget the 6 people he slaughtered and the 60 people that he injured. He was informed, despite his claim, he was never given a pretrial offer. The prosecution produced the offer that they made to him back on July 5. It would have waived certain penalty enhancers and dropped certain charges in exchange for a guilty plea. But what I do want to note is that he has not been charged with a hate crime, despite the fact that he was clearly a racially motivated violent extremist, which the FBI has been crying about for an entire year now and saying is the biggest threat to our country. Well, here you've got one, and you're not charging him with the hate crimes he should be charged with. It's absolutely ridiculous. And look at how the media covers us and how they talk about it. They say, parade attacker suspect, parade attack suspect, parade accident suspect, or whatever. That's how they'll talk about it. They won't call it what it is, which is a T attack. We all know that, okay? This was a DT act, and the reason he did this is because the media had hyped up the Rittenhouse thing and got everybody real upset about the verdict in that trial, and what he was doing was saying, okay, now we're going to take out your people. And it's because the media lied about the Rittenhouse story. So just consider that, keep that in mind. Waukesha Circuit Judge Jennifer Dorow continues her kid gloves treatment of the accused anti-WT, even as he interrupted court through the morning and mumbled his crank legal theories under his breath. That's exactly the kind of thing he's been doing this entire time. Brooks, a career criminal and registered S offender, is charged with intentionally driving his SUV through the annual Waukesha Christmas Parade November 21st, 2021, striking dozens of spectators and participants. 6 W people died and 61 were injured and maimed as the self-described anti-WT accelerated into the barricade parade route and veered into crowds for 5 blocks. The state's more than 70 felony charges against Brooks include 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide with a dangerous weapon, 61 counts of recklessly endangering safety, and 6 counts of hit and run involving death, 2 counts of bail jumping. For the 11th day in the row, the prosecution did not mention or question Brooks's extensive documented history of anti-W statements and hate, which preceded the T attack on the Waukesha Christmas parade. After every break, Brooks argued using crank pseudo-legal sovereign citizen defense strategies that hold that only individual people can bring legal action in court, not governments, and that the court doesn't have what he claims is quote-unquote subject matter jurisdiction. Each of the state's witnesses testified to seeing Brooks shortly after the attack, placing him at the scene before he was arrested by Waukesha police, tracing his movements along the way. He was once on foot until the moment he was arrested. One witness even tried to bring up Brooks' past criminal record, but the judge told the jury to disregard it. Brooks' extensive criminal history was declared completely off limits for the prosecution before the trial even began. Annoying as it may seem, Brooks' cross-examination questions actually appeared to help the prosecution. He regularly asks questions he doesn't even know the answer to. He tries to undermine their testimony with dumb or irrelevant questions, and it allows the jury to hear the testimony against him twice rather than once. Sam Backler, a Waukesha resident, testified he saw Brooks trespassing on his property a short time after the attack. He confronted Brooks and told him to get out of his yard. He said Brooks asked him to call an Uber, which he did not. Brooks lingered on the property and he told Brooks again to leave, at which point Brooks raised his shirt and said, "I'm quote unquote unarmed." On cross by Brooks, he tried to undermine Backler's testimony, but couldn't seem to do so in any meaningful way. In fact, it led to a number of questions and answers that underlined that Brooks was indeed the parade attacker. Second witness, Dominic Caproon said he was at home the night of the attack, loading water jugs into the back of his truck with his two sons, 21 and 14, when he saw Brooks walking up the driveway with no jacket or shoes. Brooks said he had no weapons and asked to use his phone to call an Uber. Capron agreed to Brooks' request and continued loading the jugs. Brooks returned his phone and then walked away. Erin Cords testified she was at the parade with her husband and two children, where they stood near the end of the route. Her two children were in the street picking up candy, being tossed by parade marchers when her husband saw Brooks tearing through the route. He told her to get her two children away from the street. She witnessed Brooks drive past and then through the barricade. She also witnessed Waukesha police officer Brian Schulten firing shots at the red SUV. She didn't get a look at the driver. She and her family were making their way back to the car when they saw Brooks barefoot wearing a t-shirt despite the night's cold. She described how she saw him come out of the bushes, who she later identified in the courtroom. She asserted Brooks demanded to use her cell phone, claimed he wouldn't harm them, and they ultimately gave him one. Brooks called his mother and asked for her to call him an Uber ride. Then we get to Anthony Winters, who was the Uber driver who responded to Brooks' 5:15 p.m. call that night. He arrived around 5:30 p.m., but Brooks was nowhere to be found. He placed Brooks at the scene, but little else. Brooks was remarkably polite to Winters compared to the more hostile cross-examination of W prosecution witnesses. Again, unsurprisingly. Then we get to Daniel Ryder at his Elizabeth Street home a day after a day of hunting when Brooks knocked on his door. He's the witness who let Brooks into his house via the back door and provided the use of his phone, a coat for warmth, and even fed him a sandwich. Stunning. Brooks told Ryder he was homeless, waiting for an Uber ride to pick him up and simply needed a warm place to stay. After about 8 or 9 minutes, rather than a couple of minutes, Ryder expected it to take, and after seeing police cars racing up and down the street with their siren lights running, he got nervous and told Brooks to leave and took back his phone and coat. Much of this interaction was caught on Ryder's Ring video doorbell footage, as was the dramatic moment of Brooks' arrest moments later. Ryder released the footage to news media afterward. He said because it would be good for the community and would provide some justice for Brooks' victims. He was paid for the footage, some of which he donated to the victim relief charity. Notably on cross, he characterized Brooks as very polite when he was on the porch, which was why he initially felt no threat. Jurors could take this as evidence of Brooks committing his crimes with cold calculation rather than out of any kind of desperation or passion. Brooks opened the door to the prosecution getting to play the voicemail his mother left on Ryder's phone shortly after Brooks called her, further cementing him at the scene and as the person on video. So it continues here. We're already 20 minutes long into this video, and I recommend that you guys read the articles that they are publishing daily if you care about this case, and you absolutely should. I will link to that stuff in the video description. What are your thoughts on this case and how the judge is treating Brooks, sort of like he's a child, like infantilizing him as a baby, not treating him the way that I think any other person would be treated. If I went into a court and tried to act like this, I'd be immediately hauled out and hit with more charges against me, and the fact that they're not charging him with hate crimes and the T enhancement, as they tried to do to the young men that they attempted to frame for the Whitmer hoax. So let me know what you guys think about this. If you want me to do more videos on this case or cover it more or even stream the trial, let me know. As this thing continues, just to me, it's so frustrating. I can't watch more than a couple minutes of it at a time without getting very angry. And I do not want to fedcast. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Remember to like, share the video, comment if you can. And please continue to keep an eye on this because I think it's really important. And I think it's very sad how it's not being called what we know it should be called, which was an act of DT that was clearly racially motivated.